Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel. And the Kyrie 8 has been leaked. Shout out to Sneaker Highway 23 for these pictures. Kyrie Irving said that he had nothing to do with the design of this shoe and he hates it. But we'll go over that a little bit later. Let's go over the actual shoe first. The Kyrie 8, this is like a dismantling, which is really cool. We don't really have any like full on pictures of the exact shoe, but we have kind of like a back view of it, you know, because they are dismantling and we can see like the cushion and stuff like that. So first off, let's start off with the tracciones as always, and the traction looks very aggressive. We have a multi-directional pattern. It reminds me a lot of the Kyrie 6. You know, as you guys can see, we have very thin lines and stuff like that. And there is a little bit of an outline here in the forefoot. It's a circular design with this red outsole, and then there are little spikes on the outline of the circle. And then here in the midfoot, we got Kyrie Irving's logo, which is pretty cool because this kind of decouples the outsole a little bit. The outsole is only attached here on the lateral side of the shoe. And then here in the heel, we have, is this like an infinity symbol? I don't really know, but it looks to be a heel zoom unit, right? And if you guys can see from the outline here in the forefoot, I'm guessing it's a zoom turbo unit or a very large volume zoom unit here in the forefoot, right? So Kyrie's, in his entire line, there's never been a forefoot and heel zoom unit, if I remember correctly, right? Like the 7 is just a zoom turbo, 6 is just zoom turbo in the forefoot. Same thing with the Kyrie 5. The Kyrie 4 is just Cushlon, and then we have a heel zoom, I think, and the Kyrie 3 heel zoom, Kyrie 2 heel zoom, and then Kyrie 1 I think is a forefoot zoom unit. So first time it took 8 freaking shoes to put zoom in the heel and in the forefoot, so yay. Right? And as you guys can see, just from looking at this picture, the outsole doesn't look very curved, which sucks. It looks very flat. And if you guys look at his entire line, of course the Kyrie 1 still had the outsole curvature, but it wasn't like as curved as the 2. The 2 was crazy, super circular. You can do like circular motions, like pirouettes with this circular design here in the forefoot, which I absolutely loved. And that's why I really liked the Kyrie 2. And same thing with the 3. As you guys can see, there's just so much of an outsole curve. And then also here in the 4, it's pretty damn crazy. And then starting off with the 5, 6, and 7, it gets a lot flatter, unfortunately, right? And then if you look here in the 8, the entire outsole looks very flat. Obviously, I can't tell for certain, but just from this picture and how the lighting is, it looks very flat. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Like I didn't really like the Kyrie 7 all too much as far as the outsole curvature goes because it was so damn flat. So there is the outsole there. We have a picture of the tongue. It looks to use like a pretty nice leather material. I guess they're kind of going back to the Kyrie 6. I don't really like the Kyrie 6 because of how like bulky it felt. Like the Kyrie 7 feels a lot better to me because it's just a lot more minimal. There's no strap. There's a lot less padding here in the ankle area as well. Of course, I'm sure there are people that found the Kyrie 6 a lot more comfortable and a lot cozier, but just for me personally, I just like how the Kyrie 7 felt a little bit more. And then here in the Kyrie 8, this shoe seems to have a lot of padding here in the ankle area, very similar to the Kyrie 6. The tongue, we have a leather material. It looks pretty nice as far as the quality goes. I'm not really sure what this is. It's like an ice cube on fire. And then here for the laces, we have a pretty interesting lacing system as well. I'm not really sure how it works because the picture isn't very clear. But there are some synthetic materials on the tongue. So does that like help for lockdown? You know, when you tighten the laces, does this little material tighten a little bit more on your foot? We don't know yet. And then also for the cushion, right? So from this backwards angle of this shoe, there's a good amount of compression marks. Was someone wearing this, or is this a new shoe and then this is just like the actual like cushion pattern? Like that looks pretty interesting because that looks like compression marks, right? And if there are compression marks, then that means the cushion is like soft, you know, or softer, because it's like really stiff nylon. It doesn't have as many compression marks as this. So for the foam, is it like a softer type of foam, like Cushlon or something like that? I don't know. We'll have to see on that. And it looks pretty fully exposed here in the heel, so that's nice. The rubber outsole doesn't come up the cage of the cushion or anything, it doesn't look like. We can also see there is a synthetic material with this iridescent glow kind of to it here in the heel. And then we can also see Kyrie Irving's logo in the back of the heel as well. And also from this angle, we can see the outsole curvature, and I guess there is a little bit of a curve here, I guess this part, but it doesn't really look like it curves all too much, which kind of sucks. And also for the cushioning setup, right? So here we can see the top of the phylon. So there is a midfoot shank plate, so that's pretty good, right? And also there's a really tiny heel zoom unit, and I guess it's better than nothing. And it does look to be top loaded, so that's nice, of course. And we can see the outline of the actual zoom unit here in the forefoot, and this forefoot zoom unit looks insanely big, right? So if you remember from the Kyrie 5, 6, and the 7, the zoom turbo unit is actually a little bit smaller than this, and also there's a lot more articulation in the zoom turbo units used in the 5, 6, and 7. So here in the 8, there's only 2 articulation lines, and of course the articulation is going in the way that your foot moves, right? So going forward, so of course that'll help the zoom unit flex, but also the zoom unit might be a little bit bouncier than the 5, 6, and 7 because there is less articulation. So that's actually very, very nice, and I'm looking forward to it a lot. All right, now moving on to the forefoot zoom unit. The forefoot zoom unit looks to be a forefoot zoom strobo unit, right? So I'm guessing on this, but I am pretty sure it is, because if you look at the perimeter of this zoom unit, there is extra plastic, right? And if you look on like all zoom strobo units, like even the KD13 and KD14 full-length zoom strobo units, those zoom units have extra plastic around it so that you can put the stitching through it, you know, to connect the upper to the midsole. So if you look at regular zoom units, they usually don't have this. So I'm guessing it is zoom strobo in the forefoot, which is awesome. And it looks really similar to the Zoom GT Run. You know, the Zoom GT Run has the exact same kind of like shape and also articulation if you look at it, because you know, if you look at the Zoom turbo units here in the 5, the 6, and also the 7, it has a lot of articulation as opposed to this zoom unit. So I'm super excited about this zoom unit. That's going to be insane in the forefoot. And then here for the strobo board, as you guys can see, the strobo board is attached to, I guess, like the bottom of the zoom unit, and of course you do need that strobo board in the heel to attach the upper to the midsole. Here in the forefoot, you don't need a strobo board because the Zoom strobo unit here in the forefoot is replacing the strobo board, of course. So that's actually really cool, and I'm very, very excited about it. So the Zoom strobo unit in the forefoot is going to be insane. It's probably going to feel very similar to the GT Run. And then we have the strobo board. This heel zoom unit looks to be top loaded, but it's going to be underneath that strobo board. So I'm pretty curious as to how bouncy it's going to feel in the heel, but it's definitely going to be very, very bouncy in the forefoot. Also for the upper, there's not a whole lot to go off of from this picture. There are some fingers, it looks like. You know, here in the Kyrie 7, we have a little bit of fingers here where the laces go through and kind of like give you a little bit more support and lockdown. That's what it looks like here in the Kyrie 8, but it looks a lot more into the midfoot. And then here in the ankle area, we have the Nike swoosh, as well as it looks like a suede material in this colorway. So yeah, I guess they're going back to like more old school materials, kind of like in the Kyrie 6, and also I guess a little bit here in the Kyrie 4 as well. All right, now we're gonna go on to something very, very controversial, right? So K11 Kicks put up the leaked pictures of the Kyrie 8, and evidently Kyrie Irving actually commented on his post, which is first of all insane. But this is what he said. He says, "I have nothing to do with the design or marketing of the upcoming Kyrie 8. In my opinion, these are trash. I have absolutely nothing to do with them. Nike plans to release it without my okay regardless of what I say, so I apologize in advance to all of my sneakerheads and true supporters of the KAI 11 brand." So holy crap, that's insane, right? Let's try to look at it a little objectively, right? So Nike as a company, you're a business, right? And when you're a business, I guess like the main objective of a business is to make money, right? To make a profit. And you sign these players, you pay these players or these people millions and millions of dollars to endorse your product just to wear Nike. And I guess that makes sense, right? But like if you're gonna make a signature shoe, and in this case, I guess I'm gonna believe Kyrie because he said he has nothing to do with the Kyrie 8. So I mean, like as far as the design process goes for your own signature shoe, and Kyrie's are very, very popular, and I'm sure the Kyrie line has made Nike millions and millions of dollars. So obviously it's a pretty important line as far as their basketball lineup goes for Nike, right? And if Kyrie Irving had absolutely nothing to do with it, then that's crazy, you know? And I don't know, like does Kyrie just say okay to the design? You know, because Nike has like a whole design team designing a shoe and production team and stuff like that. Yeah, they have a whole ass team. It's not just Kyrie, you know what I mean? And he's an athlete, you know, he doesn't really want to be like bogged down by designing an entire shoe because that's a long process. It takes a long time and stuff like that. So my question is, as far as Nike athletes go, like just all of them, like LeBron, Paul George, KD, do they just say okay? You know what I mean? Like maybe give a little bit of feedback. But as far as the design team goes, do they just like design a shoe for the athlete and then the athlete's like, okay, sure, or maybe nah, I'm not a huge fan of it. And then as far as the tech goes, I don't think the tech they have a whole lot of control over, because if you look at athletes where like it's their first signature shoe, the tech is crap. You know what I mean? Like the cushion, the materials. And obviously if you're a signature athlete, I'd be like, I want Flyknit, I want full length Zoom Strobel. You know what I mean? But then like they can't add that because it's gonna be kind of like a cheaper shoe, you know what I mean? So I guess in that aspect, the athletes don't have that much control because I mean, at the end of the day, it is Nike's product. But also another thing that kind of like is a little shady that Nike does is that they have their budget shoes, you know what I mean? And it has the athlete's brand name, you know, like the Kyrie Flytrap line or even like the LeBron Witness. Like LeBron never wears the Witness, you know what I mean? And the KD Tray line, KD never wears the Tray line. He just wears his main signature shoe. And us consumers, or just like people that kind of don't really know about shoes, like I have a lot of friends where they're just like, oh, I got the new KDs or I got the new Kyries, and they have the Flytraps or the KD Tray 5, whatever. And it's like, you know, it's a budget shoe, it's a cheaper shoe, but then it's like, it's not really their shoe because they never wear it. You know what I mean? So is that kind of like deceptive in the marketing department from Nike, or I guess like other brands in general, because they do that as well? I don't know. Tell us your opinions and your thoughts on that down in the comment section below. But as far as the Kyrie 8 goes, yeah, if Kyrie had absolutely zero, like absolutely nothing to do with designing the shoe, then that kind of sucks, you know? And also, I am a little sick of the Kyrie design, man. I guess the 1 was very, very unique, and so was the 2. But from like the 3, or maybe even the 5, 6, 7, and also the 8, look very, very similar. And the design is getting a little boring in my opinion. I guess like the Kobe's, if you look at the Kobe's, all the Kobe's look very similar as well. If you think about it, like the 4, or maybe let's start with the 5, 6, 7, and maybe even the 8 look very, very similar. So I guess it kind of makes sense. You know, you kind of have like your own design language and your own signature line, but it is getting like kind of old, and I want to see like a new design. But anyways, tell us your thoughts on this, you know, because you know, Kyrie kind of says stuff, you know what I mean? He says like the world is flat and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not discrediting what Kyrie Irving said. I'm sure like he wouldn't say that if he had nothing to do with the design, but I don't know. We don't really know the entire context of the situation. But anyways, that about wraps it up. Tell us your thoughts on the Kyrie 8 and also the Kyrie Irving situation with the Kyrie 8 down in the comment section below. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.